trying to figure out how to do it and the best way to do it, and test the pump. Is this going to really pump water for a year? How's it going to work? Stuff like that. But then in 2007, I think we did 7 farms in 2007. And since then, we've provided irrigation for between 100 and 120 people a year, every year. Families, not people, but families, Usually from each family, there's usually around 40 people will have food to eat, at least 40 people. The first thing we plant is cowpeas. Within 3 weeks, they can start eating leaves, so they've got nutrition. Like in 3 weeks, they've got nutrition. And from then on, and it takes about 65 days before they have the beans, so then they have a higher protein already to go along with it. So that they plant that. They plant green grams, which is lentils. I think that's what we call them here. Butternut squash. They've really come to really like that. It's a substitute for potatoes. And then they grow onions and watermelon and green peppers. And at all the farms we plant a tree called a name tree.
And I think another strong component of the approach of the farms in particular is because Turkana is so desolate, they receive a lot of relief, and relief does not encourage initiative or saying that this is what we can do ourselves. But the approach of the farms, it definitely is a gift and that we give for them to steward, but then it also takes them taking their initiative and saying, this is what we can do to feed ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then the farming God's way has a lot of spiritual components to it, that if we are a steward of God's creation in God's way, then the blessing of that is taking good care of creation, but also the food and resources that we have for our families and for our communities. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then during the most recent drought, the reports were that in areas where there are farms, there really isn't much hunger at all. But in the areas where there were no farms, it was much more acute. So that's more of a broad response. One of the big values that we have is not just going to plant a church, but a church planting movement. We want it to be able to continue. And so in the whole empowerment and equipping of the local church, there is, teaching them the Word of God and training them in that way. And then there's also meeting needs and helping them feed themselves, and also giving them a message in the community. And you heard Gene say that some people would see this and say, we want to know more about this, because what would motivate people to come and help in this significant way? And so in Turkana, we're seeing some incredible church growth, new churches planted, reports of 159 baptisms in one area in one weekend. So this is going hand in hand with significant growth within the church. And so it becomes a message that the church has, that Jesus doesn't just care for your soul. He cares for the whole person. And this is what we are doing and can do to be a part of that message that Christ has.
Yes. Yeah. I had one person say those exact words one time. They said, in the beginning, you brought the Word of God, and we could see that you loved us, and we're really happy that you brought the Word of God. But now that you're bringing us water and food, we know that you really care for us and that God really cares for us. And like I said, people realize that there are people that God's talking to that love them, because they can see it. When somebody's been putting their kids to bed without food, all of a sudden has food every day. It's a radical change, and you guys have really been a part of that. We appreciate it. They appreciate it. If you go there, they'll tell you that exact thing. They always tell me, thank the people in America who are helping us and who gave us this.
And I think for broader CMF, our focus, we want to see, we want to create Christ-centered communities that transform the world. And so part of that transformation is a holistic message that God cares for the whole person. And so as we focus on, preaching and teaching and planting churches and other holistic ministries that we have, inevitably we're going to come across needs that are immediate or are really beyond, what we can respond to, particularly in a short amount of time. And having IDES as a partner has just been indispensable. For example, we get a drought in Kenya, and the hunger is acute. If we were to mobilize to raise funds and wait for those funds to come in, by the time we have resources available, it's going to be too late. But having a partner like IDES that specializes in that, we can appeal to IDES, let them know the need, and because that's what IDES does, they have resources so we can meet and address needs like that in a very timely manner. But as a CMF partner, we can just encourage people, if you want to be giving to these kinds of needs, please give to IDES, because we know that when those needs arise within CMF, IDES is that valuable partner that we can write to.